we go.
Don't act so excited. let's
I had to find the button. I had to find the button for the music, Allie.
Our brains are like working slowly.
We're very excited to have you here, Frank.
I'm so excited to be here.
We are. Don't let his lack of enthusiasm.
I am very
fool you.
enthusiastic. I just had a moment where I was trying to find the right button.
It's the multitasking. It doesn't work well for me either.
I had to find the button that did the oh yeah. Welcome to Weddings Uncensored, where we drink and talk and talk and drink. I'm Callie. I am Kyle.
Wow, we're off to a really good start today. I'm so glad we have such a great guest. And I'm Allie, and we are here to talk about the good, the bad, and the downright crazy of the whole wedding industry. And today we have an amazing guest. We are so excited to have. I have a wonderful bio here. For Frank. Frank
Yes.
Schaefer Burgess is
Let's
the
get
owner
it.
and lead planner of Events by Frank, based out of Newport Beach in Southern California. The team at Events by Frank specializes in modern LGBTQ plus weddings while celebrating love of all kinds. With a background in hospitality and customer service, he has worked for some very well-known companies and brands that have shaped how he views customer service, attention to detail, and overall guest experience. He holds a bachelor's degree in organizational leadership from Arizona State University and a master's in leadership development from Chapman. He got into the wedding industry in 2021, kind of a newbie still,
Ooh.
thanks to a homework assignment from grad school, which I love. That project led him to create an online wedding directory, LGBTQ Weddings OC, on Instagram in 2021, and become a board member of the National Gay Wedding Association from 2021 to 2022. He lives in Orange County with his husband, Connor, and two dogs, Charlie and Cooper. And the special note that he was awarded the Queer Activist and Philanthropist Award at the Strut Awards in Costa Mesa last year, which is
Let's go.
so amazing. So amazing. I would also like to mention that he is a Shania Twain super fan,
Yes.
which I find just
Let's go, girls.
I just find it important to mention. So thank you so much, Frank. We're so excited to have you.
I'm so happy to be
cheers,
here.
cheers.
Thank
Take
you.
a drink, Allie.
Exciting.
Take a drink.
Take a drink. You got to do it.
You can't forget.
And your mission really is to, have better representation, better equality for the LGBTQ plus community in the wedding industry, which is just still so wholly binary and heteronormative. And so for us, we were just so happy to have you here to kind of help lead this conversation, right? Because, as allies, we can be supportive and we can ask all the questions, but I feel like it's important to have an actual queer person lead the conversation, and especially because this is your specialty. So we're very
I'm
happy.
so excited to be here.
Yes.
This is one of my all-time favorite topics. I'll try not to hit the table.
It's okay. I do it all the time.
She does. It's
But
okay.
one of my favorite topics to talk about and just get the conversation started, keep the conversation going
Yeah.
is just still so important, even today in 2023.
Well, and what's wild is that in 2023, it has only been 10 years
And that's
since
not a long time.
gay marriage has been legalized in California, which is like no time at all. So it's bananas because, as an ally and people, someone who does gay weddings a lot, it feels like it's just a thing, right? Like it's so normal and accepted and whatever, but there are still so many challenges that queer couples are facing when they're planning a wedding. And I mean, I just think of the fact that we're here in Southern California where things are quite, liberal. And I can only imagine what it's like for couples, facing other
Where
in
it's
other,
not.
in
Where
other parts
it's not.
of the country. Yeah, which is so nuts. So talk to us a little bit about why representation matters in social media and just in the media when it comes to queer couples.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're not watching at home, we've got some cameras set up, which is really great. But if you're truly listening to the podcast, I just reached over to grab my phone because there was an article that I just wanted to bring up. And I'm just reading the title of this article just to show that this is still a thing. But just in December, here's the title of the article. December 5th, 2022, U.S. Supreme Court leans towards web designer with anti-gay marriage stance.
Wow.
So it's still happening today.
That's so
right?
wild. So wild.
To answer your question about why it's so important to have this representation, even today, because there's still a chance that there is a wedding professional out there when I pick up the phone to call and say, hey, I'm inquiring about, your service. I'd love to use you, get some more information. By the way, it's a gay wedding.
Right.
The conversation can go one of two ways. Amazing. I'm so excited to work with you. Let's go, right?
Yeah.
or we don't do gay weddings.
Yeah.
And that's still a thing. People
Still
actually will say that.
thing.
See, like to me, obviously it sucks to hear that, but the fact that you have to, or feel the need that you have to clarify in the beginning,
even
that
say it at all.
that it's a gay wedding. Like when Steph and I got married, I wasn't like, oh, hey, we're inquiring for your venue or whatever. Also, we're biracial. No, not a thing. So it's sad that it's even something you have to clarify before.
Yeah.
Totally. And so imagine coming out of the closet already is so traumatic for so many queer people. But now imagine having to come out of the closet for the number of vendors that you need to plan your wedding.
Yeah.
So if I'm having to come out 12 times because I'm calling a planner and a videographer and a florist and all the vendors that you can imagine, that anxiety that comes around it. So how do we deal with that? How do we eliminate the need for the feeling that people need to come out each time they call? And that's through representation. If I go onto someone's Instagram, so I'll give you just a little story. I got engaged back in 2020 during the pandemic, double engagement up in Napa. On the drive home, obviously so excited to start planning and thinking about what this could look like. We weren't thinking like, oh, we're going to need to get married tomorrow, but it's just exciting. It's a fun time. And so it was a road trip. So I was in the passenger seat, just like spiraling on Instagram. As you do. As you do. And I immediately wanted just to see like what's out there, who's out there, who could potentially work with us. I'm just euphoric. I'm in this high of just being engaged, and it's super exciting. And I quickly realized something that really surprised me and shocked me. And that was the lack of representation, even then in 2020, where I would go onto people's Instagram's account and I had this rule, like by the third or fourth one where I wasn't seeing couples that looked like us, so two men, I came up with this little like silly rule where if I had to, on my phone, swipe 3 times, so swipe, swipe, and I still didn't see a couple that looked like us on the page, on the feed, that vendor was automatically disqualified. Like I wasn't going to go searching on their website. I wasn't going to go to the bottom of their Instagram
Or
page,
email them and have that potential like awkward conversation where you feel like you were,
Right. So I wasn't about to have those awkward conversations. I was going, I'm going to look for the represent. And this is before I started my own business and becoming a wedding planner. Yeah. So this was just me through the lens of a newly engaged person looking for who to potentially work with. Yeah. So just there, I think, is such a great example of I swiped 3 times. If I didn't see the representation, I was moving on. So for all of you wedding pros out there, what does your Instagram look like? If I were to do the 3 swipe rule, am I going to see an LGBT couple as part of your everyday marketing? Yeah. If I go on your website, same thing. Am I going to have to really go into the deep dives of the blog to find the one couple that looks like us? Or do you showcase them loud and proud on your main page or what have you? So those are just really, I think, easy ways to consider, marketing and showcasing LGBT love through all of your spaces.
I have a quick question. Because not obviously, people that don't know, Steph and I, we will happily shoot any queer wedding, whatever it might be, and we have. Now, the frequency of how often that has actually happened or we've been approached is very, very low. The amount of bookings that we get from a queer couple is very, very low. And it's not necessarily for your 3 swipe. We would not fit in there. Yeah. And that's mainly because of the 50 booked weddings that we get, maybe 1. Right. Maybe 2 couples are actually booking us, and it has nothing to do with who we prefer to shoot. But I can see that they're, at least from a vendor who is totally obviously fine, okay with shooting a queer wedding, but we have 1 wedding, 2 weddings, maybe 3 weddings, and we're not going to, marketing purposes, we're not going to post the same couple. Totally. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a balance that I personally would want, maybe from a vendor, of like, I will be okay and understand that it will be difficult for people to approach me if they have the issue or they're not confident and it's hard to come out. But at the same time, I would be more than happy to sit down and like, hey, we're getting married. Cool, sounds good.
Yeah.
I don't care. You know, like on
Yeah.
our inquiry form, we don't say like, what's the guy's and the girl's name? We don't do
Perfect.
that.
That's
You know what
exactly
I'm saying?
what I
We
was
just
gonna
say
say.
like your name and your partner's name. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, like.
So you're asking what can vendors do
yeah.
to become like
Yeah, and I think, I'm glad that was even one of the questions. But like, it made me think of like, oh, I feel like I'm in the hot seat right now
Yeah, 'cause
because
you
I'm
wouldn't
not
pass the
following.
3-swipe
I
rule,
wouldn't
yeah.
follow. I wouldn't follow your 3-swipe, and obviously, I would have loved to fucking shoot your wedding. You know?
Yeah.
So
No, it's a great question. So this leads to another way that you can show inclusivity on your. I'm thinking specifically like I love Instagram.
Yeah.
Right. That's where I spend most of my time is on Instagram. So if you're not, you don't have those examples to show in a consistent to have that 3-swipe. That's just one way. Another easy way is look at your bio.
Yeah.
Does your bio show that if I were just to look at your 2-sentence bio, do I get the feeling that this vendor is inclusive? Right? So if you are using the binary bride and groom
Heteronormative
your
language.
heteronormative language throughout, that immediately just in 2 seconds, I'm going, they're not for me.
yeah.
They're,
That makes sense.
They're for
Totally.
a bride and a groom couple.
Yeah.
Right. But if you can make it as simple as adding a pride rainbow flag emoji.
Yeah.
You could say love is love, but just a little baby clue to get me, if I'm not seeing a couple that looks like me on the 3 swipes, I can go immediately, oh, I see right here. Okay, I feel good. It immediately just like it has me bring my guard down and go, I know this is a thing.
Yeah.
Right. So the other thing I really love that you said was those phrases or words that you use very intentionally.
Yeah.
So on your intake form, saying couple, person 1, person 2, couple. So using terms that are inclusive and not just bride, groom, but like try as much as you can to incorporate other terms that just include everybody.
Yeah.
I think that's a really easy way too.
Okay.
Absolutely. And it's hard, I mean, I try so hard not to use any of those words and not to speak in really gendered terms.
Guys.
And even knowing that, well, not every wedding has a bride and not every person that identifies as female also identifies as a bride. Like there are so much, but I still will be marketing to brides or call my clients my brides. Like, I mean, and I really try hard not to.
Yeah.
So it's okay, like to know that people are going to make mistakes as long as you're having the conversations, asking the questions. So I think that those are really good tips though.
Yeah.
Because you do want to see somebody on there. What do you think about someone doing like a styled shoot or something to sort of build up their portfolio?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With a gay couple.
I love that. And, I listened to a couple episodes back. You guys talked about styled shoots. I'm currently in the midst of planning a styled shoot at the end of the month where we're intentionally, bringing in a real couple, gay couple to show like, yes, it's great to use models, whenever, but you can tell through the photography when it's a real couple, true love. Like it feels good. It looks good. So I'm all for it. If you are in a position where I may not have had clients booked that are part of the LGBT, but I really want to work with them.
Yeah.
What do I do? A styled shoot is a really great way just to get some content out there, throw that, and I guarantee you just having one photo from that styled shoot showing the couple is going to make all the difference.
Right.
We're not saying you need to have an LGBT styled shoot once a month for the rest of your life to make this work, right?
We only love gays. Let's do it. Like that's not what this is about.
No, but it's about just having something to show, like if I'm going to your website or your Instagram page that I go, they get it.
Yeah, exactly. So when queer couples are searching for vendors and venues, what are some other maybe red flags? Like we're talking about how to be more inclusive, but like, are there, challenges and red flags that couples are seeing as they're planning that just like, give you the ick right away?
Totally. So I'll speak on my experience when we were planning our wedding. And now that I'm in the industry and touring venues, still seeing it, a few years later. But when we would go to a venue, immediately we could tell right away, and it would give us the ick a little bit, if during the tour, obviously we are 2 men standing in front of you.
Yeah.
And if you say, and this is the bridal suite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not even paying attention to the couple that's standing in front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do I want to give you my money?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So something as simple as calling it the getting ready room,
Yeah.
the dressing room,
The private suite.
Yeah.
the private suite, other than, this is the bridal suite.
Right.
Or when we step into the said bridal suite or getting ready room and and I'm talking for just us. This was
Yes.
our
Yeah,
experience.
yeah, yeah.
Walking in and it was so feminine.
Aggressively feminine.
Aggressively
Yeah.
feminine. And it was like, it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's beautiful
It's
in
great.
here.
That's not for me though.
But I'm not going to feel comfortable spending, however many hours the day of the wedding getting ready and then potentially after,
Yeah.
So those are for venues that right away just give me the
Yeah.
ick when I am getting the tour and it's like, here's the bridal suite and here's the groom's suite.
Yeah.
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 I think that's just an easy way to
I think an aggressively feminine bridal suite gives me the ick too.
For real.
Even as a woman,
Yeah.
get your
Yeah.
pink out of here. It's too much.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think it just depends on the couple for sure, or like who is there. Because I can see like, yes, it can be very what's the word, like icky, I guess. Yeah, it can just go in and make me feel icky. So like, because I don't know, for those of you listening and not watching, I am mixed. I'm biracial. I'm black, white, and Indonesian. And to this day, we'll still get, every now and then we'll get either another couple looking at Steph and I differently. You know what I mean? And then when we can just feel the difference. So taking that same emotion and putting it into the situation when you're venue hunting would definitely make me cautious on why would I want to spend my money somewhere where I don't feel welcomed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that, we have to think about as queer people constantly.
Yeah.
We're constantly walking into spaces going, am I welcome here?
Yeah.
At any moment, is somebody going to turn on me?
Yeah. Do I feel safe?
Because I'm with my husband or
Yeah.
my fiance, who happens to be same sex. But, we talked about venues a little bit. Let's just talk about like vendors as a whole.
Yeah.
One note that I this actually happened, and it was like in the moment. It's only happened really one time. I've seen it happen to others a few other times, but in the moment when it happened to me, when a vendor says, "I don't care if you're gay. I'll work with anybody. Like I don't care." That in itself, it sounds a little bit different. Rather than hearing, I want to work with you because I want to celebrate your love.
Right.
Yeah.
And celebrate you for who you are.
Yeah.
Versus, I don't care if you're gay. I'll
Yeah.
work with anybody.
It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
So-
it can kind of sound kind of condescending,
Yes.
like you're less than the average. Yeah, I can
Yes.
see that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's another easy way. Just,
Just being mindful.
When I'm talking to queer couples and it's like, how do we go about this? I'm always saying, find people who are affirming,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
are celebrating your story and you just for the person that you are, not because they're like, I'll take anybody's money. I don't care.
Yeah.
I love that. I had a conversation with Emily of Heartthrob Weddings. I don't know if you know, she's a queer wedding planner in LA, but her piece on that was that she hates the word tolerant. Right?
Yeah,
Same thing.
totally.
This is where, we're tolerant of all couples. Like, oh, thank you for tolerating me. Like, fuck you. Like, you should be stoked to have me.
Yes.
Like, for $30,000, I will tolerate
Bitch,
your
I'm tolerating
existence.
you
Like,
right now. That's what.
like, yeah, there should be excitement about every couple, and it shouldn't be. Yes, I love that. I think that's a good message.
That's
Yeah.
the thing, in today's day and age, you have options, right?
Yeah.
It's not like there's only 3 wedding planners in your area,
Yeah.
and they all are going to tolerate you. If you're getting that feeling, that ick, that just like this doesn't feel good, keep looking around. You'd be surprised. And if you're in an area where it just doesn't make sense, like there just aren't a ton of vendors, and that's okay. You might be in a part of the country where that's the case. You'd be surprised at the number of, especially wedding pros who are queer,
Yeah.
who are part of the community.
Yeah.
It's called a community for a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're in an area where it's like, well, in my 25-mile radius, I'm just not finding it.
Yeah.
Look a little bit further and start the conversation. You would be surprised. I've heard many queer wedding pros who have said, we will make things work to help this couple out.
Yeah.
Because we see the struggle and we get the struggle.
Yeah.
So we will do something, we'll figure it out. So if you're a couple, if you're in the wedding planning stages now and you're like, there's no one, like I'm having such a hard time finding the florist. I've got everyone else. Get that reach a little bit further.
Yeah.
And just start the conversation.
Yeah.
The worst that someone could say is, I'm going to charge you a ton of travel fees. It's going to be double what you thought it was going to be.
Sure.
But start the conversation, because who knows? You may have someone who says, totally get it, and I want to help you out. I want to celebrate your love. Make sure you have the best wedding day ever. I won't charge that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll come
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
So start the conversation. I think it's important.
And
I love it.
I think too, I'm gonna not devil's advocate, the opposite of that. I'm gonna think very positively of
Angel's
the vendors.
Angel, I was just gonna say, what is that?
Oh yeah, a vendor angel advocate right now is I would love it too if you are a queer couple looking for a vendor and you found a vendor that you really like and they actually don't have any content of a queer wedding or anything like that. Just ask.
Yes.
Just ask, because like in the beginning, like when Steph and I, we didn't really have, we did a gay styled shoot. It was awesome. We had a ton of fun. We actually wanted to shoot the actual wedding for them because they were engaged, but it didn't work out because we were already booked and it was a destination wedding. But yeah, if you just ask too, ensure there leaves the openness and vulnerability to be able to just ask the question. But I think too, like people, even that vendor, if it's good or a bad communication or situation, like it's still going to encourage some kind of growth and some kind of awareness for everybody. Vendor, the couple, or anything like that. Now, granted, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, by all means, don't do it. But I would say like maybe just every now and then just try. If you found a vendor that you love and you don't see anything, just try to ask them. And,
Totally.
Yeah,
start the conversation. And another, yes, and continuing that, like another thing to really consider is, wedding pros know each other.
yeah.
It's a small, it may seem like a big industry. It's a pretty small industry. People know each other. People have worked with each other. I guarantee you, if you found just one wedding pro, if you just found the one person who you're like, they totally get it. They're going to work with me. I feel really good about it, but I'm having a hard time like finding the others. Start the conversation with them, with that one pro, that vendor you already found, and say, who would you recommend?
Yeah.
Who do you know out there? Because they may say, you're absolute, to your point, Kyle, like you're absolutely right. You're not going to see a same because they haven't done it yet. But I promise you that they are going to celebrate the heck out of you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You can feel safe with this person. So there's really strong value in just starting that conversation with the one vendor that you have and then letting it naturally progress from there.
Yeah, that happened exactly with a photographer, actually. The first has been, so far, the only lesbian couple that I shot was from a photographer that the couple felt obviously very comfortable with. And the photographer referred me, and they called me, and they're like, hey, are you available? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, we're lesbian. I'm like, awesome.
Cool.
Now what? And, so yeah, no, I agree 100%. I love it.
So with a lot of this vendor and venue shopping, I think another big pain point for queer couples is choosing attire and wedding outfits, we're calling them, and if you're not wearing dresses or suit, whatever you want to wear. So how can couples make that experience a little bit better? I know that it can be very triggering for queer couples. How can they make the shopping experience better, the choosing, the, feeling on the day?
Yeah. So part of that, I think, especially during the pandemic when, we were staying at home and figuring things out and online shopping was already big. Obviously, Amazon was a thing. But, I think more just people in general, not just queer couples, are open to the idea that they can probably find what they're looking for online. And so at the end of the day, most queer couples aren't going to be able just to go to their neighborhood wedding dress shop or tuxedo shop. Although here in Orange County, like there's quite a bit of really inclusive, but not everyone across the country has that.
Yeah.
And so I think, back to your point, Kyle, like we're really lucky to live where we live and lots of options. But don't be afraid to look online. And, one of the things that I've been asked quite a bit, probably about 5 times now, just in this last year, are females looking for suits.
Yeah.
I want to wear a suit.
Yeah.
Specifically, I want to wear a white suit.
Yep.
I just don't feel good in a dress. I don't want to wear a dress. I still like the idea of white or off-white, but I'd love for it to be a tuxedo or a suit or something that is really like unique.
Yeah.
And so that has been probably a little bit more difficult to run down the street to your local, tuck shop and say, do you have something that's going to fit me or that's going to work for me? And so that's where it's, look online, look at other places that you may not have considered, or even just call the shop first and say, this is what I'm looking for. Can you help me with this? Rather than wasting your time driving down there, looking around, trying things on.
Mitigating the risk of that experience. I'm seeing that a lot too, like not just with couples choosing to wear different non-traditional things, but also with so many mixed gendered wedding parties, right?
Yes.
Where it's maybe like a groom side, but they have women standing on that side and wanting to wear suits. Like I just can't believe that there's not more options. I mean, again, we have some more locally here, but I know that it can be a rough experience. And that's just like, I mean, now I'm kind of tangenting a little bit,
No, it's fine.
But with representation and equality, I mean, there's a lot of lack of representation of all kinds of people, like of Black people, of fat people, of, you know what I mean? And it's all skinny, pretty white girls if you look at a bridal magazine. So there's a lot of people that are facing a lot of challenges when it comes to shopping and just feeling really uncomfortable with that whole process.
Yeah. And another really good tip, I was going to bring this up later, but this is a really good just space to put this in. As you're looking at different resources, like Love Inc. magazine, for example, is a really great resource for LGBTQ plus couples getting married, thinking about getting married, great ideas. But something really cool about having a resource like Love Inc. is that you can go on their Instagram page, find some really great content, some really great inspiration, and just go look at the vendor list. They tag all the vendors in all the posts and see I really like this suit. Yeah. And I'm not finding it in my area. Find to see who made that suit and then start there. And you'd be surprised, like once you start there, you get targeted content and ads. And
the algorithm is definitely watching.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
They want to help.
Watching.
But it works. It works.
Yeah.
So that's another really great tip.
I love that. So as queer couples are kind of, navigating the planning process, and maybe let's get away from the challenges for a minute, but what are some of the like fun parts about planning where maybe we're not,
I need some fun.
we don't feel so tied to maybe tradition. Maybe we get to do things a little bit differently. I think it's really fun when I work with my queer couples because like we get to make up the fucking rules as we go along. Yeah. Let's do whatever you want. So what are some fun things that either you've done or you've experienced or maybe at your own wedding that you want to share?
Yeah. So one of the great things about being queer, planning a wedding, is that there are no rules. Yeah. And I think more and more couples, straight couples even too, are starting to realize, I think you guys brought it up in one of your first podcasts, like do whatever you want.
Right. Yes.
Do what makes sense for you. And that's especially true for queer couples. Yeah. Right. So thinking about your wedding day and making it as fun as possible, you might have folks who don't know what to expect. Maybe this is the first gay wedding they've ever been to, and they don't know what to expect. And that's where you can make it as fun as possible. You don't have to follow traditions that don't make sense for you, but some really fun things to consider. At our wedding, we did a complete different outfit change. I came out in a really blingy, I found this amazing vendor on Etsy who creates like these glitter jackets.
Is it this one you're wearing right
now? Not this one I'm wearing.
How many glitter jackets do you have, Frank?
I think it's close to like 10.
But
I had one made for the wedding, and this person out of Texas, I believe, makes festival wear.
Oh, yeah.
It was a simple, just like you already have the material. You have these really cool pieces.
I love that.
I'm wearing this suit. Can you make something that will kind of like play with this? We found a really cool sequin, and she made me a suit jacket out of it.
Love it.
And so for the reception, for our reception, our whole thing was we got married in Temecula, wine country, beautiful. We love it out there. We're going this Sunday.
Nice.
But, we wanted that like really classy, elegant feel to the wedding. But for the reception, I told our planner, gay club.
Yeah.
I want folks who are like, I've never been to a club like this before to clutch those pearls, but then get on the dance floor, right? So we wanted that whole gay club experience. So that's a really fun thing to do, like
that.
finding
That's awesome.
a DJ who might be a club DJ to
Yes.
really turn the party from just like getting your standard playlist to no, I want mixes. I want you to play, Britney,
bangers.
Christina,
Yes.
Yes.
like all the classics. And we want to turn this out. That's a really fun thing. And something that I love and I'm dying to do with one of my couples is to bring in a drag queen performer.
Oh,
Please.
I've had a
So
few.
If you're listening to this
I-
right now, hire Frank specifically for this reason.
I
He'll
have
fly
had
out
a
to
few,
Nashville.
and
He'll fly out to Florida. It doesn't matter
Totally.
where. It'll happen. He'll make it happen.
Nothing gets a wedding turn like a drag queen. I am very lucky that I've had a few experiences, and it really is wonderful.
Everyone that I've heard have done this, that's the one regret from my own wedding. I wish we would have just
done
spent
it.
the little extra
Just
freaking
freaking
money.
done
You
it.
can have a 10-year
higher.
anniversary party.
Yeah.
and do
I'm already
it.
planning it. Don't tell my
Yeah.
husband.
As you should. As you should.
But so fun, so unique. I guarantee you most of the people in the room will be like, I've
it's-
never seen this before. And
Instead
it's
of-
so fun.
And they could be your MC for the night too. Oh my
1000%.
gosh.
Absolutely.
So many
and
of
like
these-
They would
and like
kill
roast
that.
everybody,
Oh.
like a real bitchy drag
Oh,
queen.
when they
like,
walk
making-
into the reception
making fun of
area?
people's
Oh,
outfits and
yes.
stuff.
So and a lot of these drag performers do that at their clubs and
Yeah,
at their
exactly.
local bars. So it's not something that's completely out of the stretch. It might
Yeah.
be it might be, I've never done this at a wedding, but yeah,
Well, why
let's
not?
do
Let's
it.
yeah.
It's something just so fun, so unique, and something I'm
Again,
dying to do.
the idea of just ask. You
Just ask.
never know.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
might get the yes that you really want.
yeah.
You might.
Yes.
making it up as you go. Yeah, not following traditions for tradition's sake. But I will say, I've done some gay weddings that were extremely traditional, that had church ceremonies,
yeah.
that really, followed a lot of what we would think of as, traditional.
Right.
And that's okay too.
Yeah.
So I think it's, it's important to mention that whatever resonates with you, like don't do tradition for tradition's sake. But if that feels right to you and feels genuine, fucking do it.
Go for
If
it.
you've always dreamed of wearing the big poofy princess dress, but you feel like it's not right, whatever, fucking do it.
Yeah. It's a whole spectrum when you think about a gay wedding. It's not going to be all like our wedding, gay club, drag queen. Like it's not all that. It can be as traditional as the next wedding you've seen. Like
Yeah.
it can be just like that. It can be the complete opposite. But at the end of the day, there are no rules.
Yep.
There's nothing that says it has to be this way. And that's what's really fun about gay weddings.
Yeah, and I know that Allie and I both are like just really trying to make a revolution here of a wedding. As long as you get married and you're celebrating you two, do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
I agree.
Do whatever you want.
I agree.
Doesn't matter who you are, how many people are attending, where your venue is. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
If you want to do, as Ali was saying, the very traditional, or you want to not do any of that, and you want to do, I don't know, a random ceremony with a monkey, go for it.
Do it.
It doesn't
Yeah.
fucking matter. If you want to do that, go for it.
Absolutely. Always. I love a monkey at a wedding. So are there any other resources out there that you think are important to share for queer couples planning, not just in Southern California? Obviously,
Yeah.
your Instagram
Yeah.
page that you started as a homework assignment. Wait, was that like something that you came up with as part of your master's program?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
So it basically all started when I was at Chapman University getting my master's in leadership development, and I was taking a class called Leadership and Diversity and Equity, or in Diversity and Equity. And basically, we had to come up with any kind of project for the end of this class where we were going to tackle something that needed attention from a leadership standpoint around diversity and equity. Do whatever you want,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, man, what am I going to do here? And so it just so happened that most of my cohort, the people that were in this master's program with me, worked in higher ed. So they're thinking about all these, projects around higher education, and they're presenting their ideas. And I'm like, I'm thinking about doing something about gay weddings.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
am I going in the right direction? And my professor's like, yes, go do it. This is so fun. And so I thought about what it was like when we got engaged, looking for these vendors, and I just wasn't seeing it. And something that I didn't mention earlier when I was telling that story is that I just wasn't seeing it in Orange County.
Yeah.
Like LA was fine, Palm Springs obviously fine, San Diego fine,
Mm-hmm.
but it was like this bubble around Orange County. So I thought for this project, let me start this, I love Instagram. Let me start this directory where an Orange County queer couple gets engaged, just like I did in 2020. They go to this Instagram page and it's just listing all these different types of vendors, all these categories. And if they see them on here, whether they have their own content on their pages, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But if you see them on this directory,
They're safe.
you do not have to come out to them.
Yeah.
You can just call them and say, I'm planning a wedding. Are you available on this
Yeah.
date?
Mm-hmm.
Period. End of discussion. And so I started that as part of that grad school project,
Yeah.
launched it, went full force. The support that I got from not only the queer community, but the wedding community of like, we love this, thank you for, I've had your point earlier, Kyle, like vendors who were saying, I just don't have the examples to show, but I'm so happy that there's something like this where couples can say, oh, okay, so even though they don't have examples, I know this is a safe person.
Yeah.
So that's how that all started. And it was certainly a passion project, but that's how I got into the industry, was just with that project.
That's awesome.
And, a couple of years later, here I am. As a wedding planner.
And here he is.
And here I am.
10 glittery jackets in the
Yes.
closet, ready to
Love it.
fucking
Ready to
go.
go.
Planning his 10th anniversary with a drag queen.
Wait, yeah, maybe like 5 year. Let's move this party up a little bit.
Because we're not even
How many years?
We're not even a year.
2
yet.
year
Yeah, no.
anniversary.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So if you are in the Orange County, Southern California area, LGBTQ Weddings OC is the Instagram page. Great resource if you're just looking for vendors around here. If you are just needing resources in general, I mentioned earlier Love Inc. magazine.
Yeah.
The first issue on retail shelves just hit this last October, November. So you can get their magazine at Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, major retailers. So they're a really great one. Their Instagram page is amazing. Others that are really great too, inclusively yours podcast, if you're looking for other podcasts to listen to. Men's Vows is really great. They're really popular. Equally Wed, they have a great blog, but they actually have a really nice book and we were actually gifted. As soon as we got engaged, my best friend bought the book and here is your engagement present, this
nice.
amazing resource. And we read that book from front to back, sideways, everything. But great blog, great book, and inclusive wedding planning. This is a project that I'm starting to work on. We're getting it off its feet. But, let's say that you're in a part of a country or you're just in a position where you may not financially be able to hire a wedding planner. I get that not everybody can afford to have these luxurious it is not cheap.
No.
It's actually fucking stupid expensive.
It can get pretty crazy. And so we've started, we're starting to work on this inclusive wedding planning, but basically it's going to be this really great tool for couples who are, in a position that they're going to plan their own weddings. This is going to be a great resource to say, when you start planning your wedding, here are the questions to ask. When you go to the venue, ask these things. Look for these signals. Look for, is it a bridal suite and a groom suite? So it's going to be a really great resource.
I
inclusive
love
wedding
that.
planning.
That's
awesome.
so awesome.
Coming
That's gonna be
soon.
really cool. Do we have a date?
No.
Do we have a year? Do we have a year?
We're hoping this year. So
Okay.
we started some work this last year. Kathy O'Connell is really behind it. She's the wedding planner behind COJ events out in Palm Springs. So I've been helping her out with it. We have a free resource on the page, inclusiveweddingplanning.com now, with some really great tips and tricks, but we're gonna go really deep into this resource and giving couples everything that they may need to know when planning their own wedding, because at the end of the day, they just might not be able to afford a full planner.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
Would we be able to have a link in the
Totally.
description to Anyone that's listening?
Yeah, I'll provide links to all of these resources.
Perfect. Show notes.
Yeah, show
We'll
notes.
put it in the show
Description.
notes. And I think
All
it
of
is
it.
also, I think it's worth like mentioning to vendors too to check out these resources as well,
Yes.
especially if you're working on educating yourself and kind of broadening, your knowledge on this topic. Again, I don't think you should be afraid to ask all the questions. As long as we're doing that and having a conversation, that's all that really matters.
It's
But-
when you're not asking the questions and not having the conversation. Those are the red flags. So we welcome them. I welcome them. If anyone just wants to talk and just ask the questions, like I'm a safe person.
Yeah.
You can absolutely come to me. Let's have the conversation. Let's figure it out.
Yeah, and where can our listeners
things like that.
find you on Instagram and your website?
Yeah, so you can find me at Events by Frank on Instagram, the wedding planning resource, LGBTQ Weddings OC, and my website is eventsbyfrank.com. Nice and easy.
Yay. Well, thank you so
Thank
much,
you so
Frank. You were
much.
just
My
a joy.
pleasure.
Thank you for bringing a little sparkle to our
Yes.
lives today.
Yes.
Cheers, and see you next Tuesday.
Peace out.